Using this, I'm using the mic. All right, guys. So welcome to the Barber Compass. So welcome to the Barber Compass, the Barber Modern Barber. Yeah. So welcome to the Modern Barber, the Modern Barber. Welcome to the fucking podcast, bro. I'm fucking sick of this shit. So a few things that I kind of wanted to touch base on and kind of just tell my story on essentially how I started cutting hair. So a lot of not a lot of you that follow me don't really know me as a barber creator, father, barbershop owner, and a person that was able to scale from $20 a haircut to close to $100 a haircut in a very small town. And it's very interesting on how I did it because a lot of the times people think that you have to have this crazy scale. At the end of the day, it's the person that's most known will always beat the best. Like, I don't care how good you think you are, as long as people know who you are. And if you're not as good as the best, you're not going to compete with that person that's well known. That's just how it is. So in order to do that, you got to attack your lowest hanging fruit, which is Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that good shit. I mean, it's free, so why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to attack that? First of all, like I talked to I talked to so many barbers, and literally every single one of them tells me, "Oh, it's just social media. It's just social media." And if that's really how you feel, like at the end of the day, you're gonna be left behind because that's literally where business is going. Like I know people that have the bare minimum of followers, like shit, 1,000 followers, and they're making 100K a month off funneling people into their community or XYZ. And again, that goes back to how I was saying, like it's literally on who is more known than the best. What the hell? Okay, so that was weird. But anyways, so I'm in the season two. I'm also in the season on and recognizing that I don't really need to buy more shit. Like I made so many mistakes in the past like 90 days, where I went on I went out and bought things that I don't even fucking need. So I'm literally talking to you on things that I already have. Like if you look at my setup, it's a crazy setup. And I think a lot of the reason why I really didn't want to do it is because I was either scared or worried about what people thought of me. And at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? That's the obvious, the plain fucking obvious. But yeah, I have what 15 minutes into my next. I have about 15 minutes that I kind of want to talk about my story and essentially how I got started cutting hair. So I started cutting hair when I was 13 years old, and I grew up very very poor actually. I grew up in a ranch called Orloma. Those of you who know Orloma, comment down below. It's a very secluded ranch from the small town that I'm from, which is Dos Palace, California. I was able to open up a shop in Los Banos, California, which is about like 20 minutes out from DP. And those of you who know DP, shout out DP. A lot of people always ask me why didn't I open up a shop in DP, and honestly, no. I'm not that I don't have love for my town. It's not that at all. It's just, to me, to scale in a town where I'm from, I felt like I had to get out. Like I still feel like I have to get out. Like I definitely feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in a sense. Like I'm definitely making it happen though. So, but back to my story. I started cutting hair around shit. I was about 13 years old. 13 years old. I'm 31 now, so do the math. Um, and I picked up a clipper because my mother actually, she was cutting us bald for, god damn, far as I can remember, like back, I'm telling you, back then we really couldn't afford going to the barbershop, and back then haircuts weren't what they are now. Like haircuts now are $40 starting. So if you're a barber, you want to start cutting hair, this is the time to do it because it's fucking crazy. At one point, I thought $40 was crazy. Now, me charging what I'm charging is a blessing. But yeah, so my mom would buzz us, and there was one day where she really didn't. She really didn't. What's it called? Have time to do it. So I feel like I fucked up the thing on this head, but so she didn't have time to do it because we were getting ready to head out to Mexico, and I remember specifically she was like, "Hey, Miko, can you actually cut up Andrew and Nathaniel, which are my little brothers at the time? I think Andrew was I was 13. He was I want to say 8 years old, and Nathaniel was 4. So you can just imagine cutting these little twerps up. You can just imagine me cutting them up and really getting down to it. It was difficult because cutting a crying kid is really hard. Like, and I definitely think that was a open gate for me to withstand what I went through, especially in the beginning stages of my career. But so I essentially started cutting hair because my mom told me, "Here, you do it. I don't have time." So I started cutting my little brother's hair, both of them, and I started cutting them bald for like I don't know fucking know. I just did it because I was bored, and on top of that, I actually ended up liking it more than I thought I was going to. So what's it called? I remember one day I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna buzz you, I might as well try something. I might as well do a fade, and if I fuck it up at the end of the fucking day, I'm gonna buzz you off anyways. Like if I fuck you up, there's nothing worse than going bald. You know what I mean? There's literally nothing fucking worse than going bald. So yeah, no. I remember my brothers were crying and telling me to hurry up, and I remember I was cutting up my brother Andrew for 2 hours straight trying to get this fucking line out, and I couldn't do it. And so I was, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna fucking do it. What's going on? Just shooting a podcast. Sorry about the mess. Sorry about the mess.
No, I didn't know if that was like interrupting.
No. You're good. You're good. It's just me by myself. So you're good. You're good. But yeah. So, sorry about the mess again. So, so essentially that's how I started cutting hair. I took a risk. I got clowned for it. Actually, my dad would tell me like, "Hey, los trasquilaron," like, like my dad would clown me for the longest until one day he was like, "Hey, you're actually getting pretty good. You want to cut me up?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." So I remember just giving my dad a 3 on the side. You know, blocked out the sideburns, and he was impressed. He was like, "Oh fuck, you actually." You're my barber now. I was like, fuck, all right, well, tell my uncles, tell my cousins, and let everybody know that there's a new barber in town, I guess. So from there, it trickled down to, I think I was like 14 now, and I remember I had these busted ass fucking wall clippers from Walmart. I had no trimmer, just the clipper, and I was lining up people with a clipper. I'm sure you've seen that before, where they'll literally grab a fucking clipper and they'll try to line up. It was a mess, but for the time being, it was great because again, it gave me experience and it gave me. I just jumped in. So there I was trying to make ends meet with that, and then so it trickled down to my what's it called my uncles, my cousins, and it was simple haircuts. It was nothing crazy. It was just 1s and 2s and 3s. It was nothing crazy. Like, so it gave me the dexterity at a very young age. Like a lot of barbers, especially nowadays when they start, they when you go to barber school, the main thing that you got to understand is you're learning how to flick. Like you're learning the dexterity, especially if you go to barber school and you've never picked up a clipper before. You're gonna struggle with doing the C motion. You're gonna hear that a lot. Trust me, you're gonna hear it a lot. You gotta flick out, flick out, flick out. You're gonna fucking hear it all, so you might as well get used to it. But before I get there, cutting hair really took off for me in high school. It was me and amongst, I want to say, another handful of other barbers that were cutting hair at the time. And again, back then barbering wasn't this like rock star lifestyle that you see nowadays. It wasn't like this crazy lifestyle that you see nowadays, where you have what's it called? Where you have like all these events. So back then it was just traditional. Come get a haircut, and that was it. I guarantee you, if I were to charge what I was charging back then, if I were to charge what back then what I'm charging now, I would get ran out of town just because of back then it was just a haircut. Like you shouldn't charge more than $10. Anyways, so I remember in high school is when it really took off for me. I started getting people. I started making friends. Obviously, especially being from a small ranch. It really taught me a lot because I was really in my comfort zone, cutting with only family. So I really wasn't doing much more than the only time I was able to practice an actual fade was my brothers because they would get a bald fade and that was it. Everybody else was scared of being fucking bald, like it was ridiculous. So that was the only real time that I actually practiced a fade was my brothers. So what's it called? In high school is when it really took off for me because that's when the tapers started coming around. I don't know where it started. I think it was more popular amongst like the African American people, the black people. I think it was more popular around them, and then not only that, the lineups too. That's when things started getting very popular with lineups and sharp lines and shit. So that's when I bought my very first trimmer, and I'm never gonna forget it. It was a detailer, a wall detailer, and actually, you know what? It was a wall peanut. The wall detailer came later. It was a wall peanut, and I remember I loved that thing. That thing was a miracle worker. I was able to get super super close to the skin. I'm sure if I were to pick it up today, I'm sure I can use it still. But aside from the point, that's when things started. That's when things started to what's it called took off for me, and I started doing at the time I don't know what the fuck a taper was. A taper was just fade the sideburns and call it a day. I didn't know much more than that, So I started doing that, and then I started getting more practice into high fade. High fades. I was the high fade guy in high school. Like if you wanted a high fade, you would come to me. And back then there was no such thing as a low fade. Like it's crazy because nowadays you have what a low fade is to me is not what it was back then. Low fades didn't exist when I started cutting hair. They probably did, but they weren't really popular in my area. So, and then what's it called? Mid fades they didn't have the hook back then. Mid fades didn't have the hook or anything. Like the hook didn't come into like 2016. I think that's when the hook started coming. The C cup. That's when essentially all that started happening. So a mid fade was just mid. It wasn't too high. It was like right where your vertical bar started, and then all the way to the top. The high fade started the half of the vertical bar all the way around. Those are your only options back then. And back then too, people were buzzing their hair, so it made it very easy for me to build up my dexterity because a lot of people weren't really keeping their hair like that. Everyone was just getting a 4 or 3 or a 2. That was it. That's all I remember doing. Maybe once in a while I'll do a comb over, but I want to say right after high school, that's when the C cup started coming in because I graduated high school in 2013. I started seeing it, but I in the area in my area when I tried doing it, no one liked it. Everyone fucking hated the C cup. Like, yo, bro, can you fit this shit in? This shit looks fucking terrible. Like, I was fucking surprised because I thought that shit looked fucking fresh. Aside from the point though, like I started so in I want to say 20. I fell off cutting hair right after high school. I stopped cutting hair and I went and did agriculture, which is field work. If you're from the valley, you know what I mean. Very very work heavy, labor heavy work. You're under the sun all day. I did that for a couple seasons. I did the Morning Star here in Los Banos. Again, if you're from the area, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say Morning Star. Morning Star is like a fucking that's where everyone ends up if you don't really have like a dream or you're, you know what I mean. That's where everyone ends up, and that's not what I wanted per se. And I did that, and I also did truck driving. Not the semi, truck driving, it was more just like a box truck like type deal thing where my routes were San Francisco and Reno. So every week I was in San Francisco and Reno delivering shit. I fucking hated that with a fucking passion, but I did it because, well, I was 18. I was 18 at the time. I didn't really know much. I would get home and cut hair right after that. So as long as I was able to cut hair and work, I really didn't care. Okay. So there was one day I had actually quit because I had gone into an accident with my truck driving job. I got into an accident, and I told myself, I was like, you know what, this is it. I'm not going to be risking my life no more like this anymore, especially since like the owner, he wasn't very professional, so to say. Like he was very like, get the job done, don't let nobody see you, type shit. So, but I learned a lot from him. We bumped heads a lot, me and my boss, but I learned a lot because he was a businessman, and I learned a little bit of business because I would sell as well. Whenever I would go to places and deliver shit, I would like, okay, look, I have this and this and this. You want it or not, type shit. So I learned a little bit of sales at that time, but it wasn't nothing crazy either. Excuse me. So I got into an accident. It was 2015, close to the end of summer. I got into an accident. I was like, you know what? I can't do this shit no more. I'm done. So when I quit that job, I obviously I would cut hair at home. I was at the time I was only charging $8. No, $7. I was charging $7 a haircut, and that was enough for me because I didn't have bills like that. All I really had to do was just be sure that I had money. All I had to do was be sure I had money for food and weed. that was pretty much it. Like I essentially, yeah, I used to be a big pothead back in the day, but aside from the point, so I remember I quit that job, and then I worked at AutoZone, and I would get home and cut hair because I needed something for my W-2. So I worked at AutoZone for a little while. I was in sales, and I was also in over the reception. You know, your cashier, that shit. I was a cashier, and I remember I fucking hated it because I'm Mexican, and Mexicans expect you to fucking know what's wrong with their car. Me personally, working at AutoZone, I didn't know shit about cars. Personally, I'm very average when it comes to cars. I'm more tech savvy than anything. But people would come to me like, oh, you know, you work at AutoZone, pues tú trabajas en pinche AutoZone. Like, why do you work here if you don't know anything about cars? I'm like, bro, I know parts. I know parts, okay? Like that's my job title. I don't do nothing else. Okay, like that is it. I know parts. Like you need a headlight. You need a gasket. Let me know your gear, make, and model, and I can help you out there. But aside from that, I don't know shit about cars. Like I don't even do my own oil. I don't even do my own oil changes. Like I mean, I know how to do it, but I'm not going to. I'd rather have someone else do it for me. But aside from the point, so. I was working there part time, and I remember it was 2016. Close. It was middle of summer, and I was fucking miserable. I fucking hated it because I wasn't really that busy at the time because all my clients they moved away because we graduated high school, or they were in school and I couldn't get them in or whatever, or their friends started cutting hair. So I lost a good portion of my clientele right after high school. So. And then, what's it called? So, trying to remember. Yeah, no. I would get home and I would cut hair, and I remember, I'm never gonna forget this day. I got home, and I remember getting home, and there was a lot of people waiting outside my house, and my mom was like, "Dude, they've been fucking here since 3 o'clock. Are you gonna fucking get them in and out? Because I don't want them here." Like I was like, yes, well, I was at work. The fuck you want me to do? Like everyone's at the time there was no such thing as booking apps or anything like that. So you literally had to go and wait at my house to secure your spot. And that's when I knew I was like, okay, I'm getting fucking busy. So I waited. I want to say about a month. And after a month of it being that fucking busy, I was like, I'm quitting my job. There's no point of me going to work for a job that I fucking hate. One, and two, minimum wage at the time was only $10, and I was only part time, which is three. I was part time, making $10 an hour. I was only making $40 after taxes. I was only making like $28 a day. So it would make no fucking sense to me to just it would make no sense for me to go to work at AutoZone. So there was one day where I was like, I was getting ready for work, and I want to say I want like back to back. Hey, bro, can you give me a haircut? Boom, boom, boom. Back to back. There was about like 5 people, and at the time I was only charging $8. I had went up on price for $1, which made no fucking sense, but I went up to $8, and in my head I did the math. I'm like, fuck, five times 8 is more than I'm already making at fucking AutoZone. And then the next day I had another 6 people at $8. The very next day I had like 4, so it's like I'm already making more than I would have after 2 weeks. So what I ended up doing is I stopped going. I didn't even get my 2 weeks. I just said, you know what, I'm done with this shit. I'm not gonna be dealing with this shit no more. So I remember my boss too. I forget his name, but I remember him, and he was a fucking tight ass. I couldn't stand him. He would always bump heads. There were some times where he was cool, but he was just one of those fucking like people that would take their job too serious. Like, bro, you don't own AutoZone. Like, why are you taking your job this fucking serious? First of all, okay, so I remember I took a risk, and I didn't look back. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. My mom was like, you should, like, what if this doesn't work out? I'm like, what do you mean it's not gonna work out? She's like, yeah, what if like people stop coming to you? I was like, well, I'm not gonna think like that. I'm gonna think positively. So that was one of the very first times where I felt unease, but I did it anyways. I took a risk. I quit my job, and the very next week, I remember I called Paul Mitchell. I don't know what it was about Paul Mitchell that I liked, but I called them. It was because they accepted financial aid. So that's why, and they were the only school that did financial aid for barbering, because I didn't have fucking $4,000 to give up to a school. I didn't have that kind of money. So I went to Paul Mitchell. I had to wake up every single day. I had to wake up every single day at, I had to be there at 9, and Modesto from Dos Palos was about, I want to say, an hour and a half, if that. With traffic, especially in the mornings, the 99 sucks. The 99 fucking sucks. So if you drive the 99, I salute you, because it fucking sucks. I hate the 99. The amount of accidents that I've seen on the 99 was fucking ridiculous. More so because drivers were trying to get to work on time, or they were late, or XYZ. And it was always in the morning. It was always in the morning. Of course, there was some times where I'd get out of school and there was traffic, but it was always in the morning. But aside from the point, I remember I had to wake up at 6 in the morning to get ready, and I would carpool people. So I had to, on the way to Los Banos, I had to pick up people, and I would go straight to Modesto. I had to be there by 9:10. If not, I would get hours taken away from me. I did that for about almost 11 months. I almost got kicked out, but that's another story for another day. I remember I graduated with flying colors. The whole schooling was fucking easy for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was fucking easy. I was already cutting hair at home, so like a lot of the time when I would get a client or whatever, it was fucking easy, dude. Like, yeah, I would fuck up here and there. I remember I fucked up some guy so bad that he told me off, but I'm like, bro, you're out of school, dog. Like, you're coming here for a haircut out of school. Like, you're not getting cut by actual real barbers. I hope you know that. And I knew going in this I had to make mistakes, and I made every single mistake you could think of, and I was happy doing it. So yeah, I did my at the time I did my 1,500 hours. Now it's 1,000 hours, which is fucking crazy to me. But yeah, I did 1,500 hours. I graduated. I took my test right after, and I remember that month. I remember I studied every single day. I didn't go out. Well, I went out, but I a lot less. I would go to sleep drooling over my books. I was like, nope, I'm gonna fucking pass this bitch. And I'm never gonna take this test ever again anyway, so I might as well do the fucking thing. So, yeah, I passed it first try. I remember that day was the pivot point of my life. I remember a week before I went to go talk to a barbershop owner in Fireball, and he gave me a job. He's like, "Get your license and you can start." I was like, "All right, bet." Week later, "Hey, bro, I got my license. When can I start?" And he's like, "Oh fuck, you passed?" I was like, "Yep. When can I start?" And I'll leave it at that. If you guys tuned in and stayed this long, thank you for tuning in with me and chilling with me for these. Fuck, I don't even know. So it should say here on my computer. But anyways, I got more stories like this, so I will be doing more of these, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Is that cool, Mickey? Mikey?
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that about me, but a little story.